You are not disordered. You are gifted in so many ways. And those gifts need, just like a plant needs the proper soil, your gifts need the proper environment in which to thrive. Have you ever been surrounded by loved ones, friends, maybe coworkers, and yet somehow you still feel incredibly alone? It's this loneliness that doesn't come from being alone. It comes from being misunderstood. This feeling that no matter how much I explain myself, no matter how much I try to help other people get it, they just can't. I've felt like this my entire life. When I was a child, I always had a sense that I was different than my parents, different than my brother. Even my closest friends, there was something just a little bit off about me. Well, that was what I felt, that there was something off about me. There was something wrong with me. I was too much. And it seemed to express itself through how people treated me, the sense that I needed to over-explain everything that I did, the feeling that I would walk on eggshells trying not to upset these other people, this feeling that if it would be better if I just kept my mouth closed. If I could just stay out of the way, if I could just kind of be in the corner and not be seen, not get that attention, then maybe I'll be safe. Maybe you know this too. Maybe it showed up as, people-pleasing, self-doubt, forcing yourself to shut down your intensity. And it's only recently that I've actually learned how to celebrate my uniqueness, my difference, my weirdness. And the funny thing is, what's helped me to do that is through recognition. Recognition of a pattern in myself. And that recognition is, well, it's what people call ADHD. I'm different. I'm wired differently than most people. Maybe you are too. Even if you don't have a diagnosis, which I'm not even sure if it's good to get a diagnosis, but to have this recognition that you are different than most people, that they just cannot understand what happens inside of your mind, inside of your nervous system. This was the beginning of my freedom. Even when I felt like I began truly embracing how weird and strange I am, I still felt like I needed to change myself. Because this looming pressure from the outside world to conform, to figure it out, whatever it is. It's like I always needed to mold myself into a world that was built for someone completely different than me. But that stops now. There's a scene in the X-Men movie where Professor Xavier taps in using Cerebro, this powerful, seems like artificial intelligence, psychic power amplification machine. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but he puts on this helmet and he already has this powerful psychic ability. But when tapped into this computer, he has the capacity to feel, sense, and identify every mutant on the planet. And there's all these kind of astral images of these other humans that are just different. And they're all over the place. They're all over the map in every single part of the world. But most of them are hidden, afraid to step out and show themselves. Because once identified as a mutant, well, then somebody's going to want to contain you, lock you up, drug you, all of a sudden people once identified as a mutant would be ostracized, thrown out of their families, isolated, exiled. And the beautiful part about that scene is it taps into so many deep energies, patterns that exist within the human. First and foremost, that we are ultimately mammals, and our mammalian brain is wired in such a way that we must identify ourselves in the tribe, in the pack, because we know that being isolated, being alone is death. And so here we have all of these people that are hiding in plain sight. And in that scene, it didn't click until many years later that's me. I'm one of them. I mean, I was drawn to the X-Men and so many other comic books and superhero stories because it's like even though I might not have those powers, you know, the healing abilities or the the claws or the flying or the whatever, I still felt somehow closer to those archetypes, those characters, those fictional beings than some of the other people in my world. And there's something I want you to understand is that though ADHD, this term that we have been given by science, by psychology, by the DSM-5 or whatever, the statistical diagnostic manual for psychology, we've been labeled as disordered. Which, by the way, is an improvement on things because years ago it was called just like brain deficiency condition or something like that. It's insane. This term that has this negative energy into it actually has been something that has created a tremendous sense of freedom in my life. Because, not because of a label, but because of a recognition of the truth that I am different. The numbers vary from population to population. The numbers are even hard to measure because so many of us have not been identified, fear being identified. But let's say 5% of us are ADHD or neurodivergent, different nervous system. If that is correct, then you can look around and 19 out of 20 people in the space that you're in just will never understand how your world works. Never. And the more difficult part about that is this entire world is built for those 95%. It's built for the idea that sustainable focus is the norm. It's built on the idea that most people filter out a tremendous amount of noise. I have noise reduction on my microphone right now because there's hammering and birds and cats and dogs and kids playing in the street, and I know that I need to filter that out at some level. Otherwise, you, my ADHD brother or sister, you don't filter that information as much because your nervous system works differently, and most people won't understand. But the thing is that you need to be seen. You have to be seen first by yourself and then by those around you. And no, you don't need to wear a name tag that says, "Hi, my name is Chris and I have ADHD." You don't need to label yourself like that, but you do need to surround yourself with some people who have a true felt sense of what it's like to be inside of your nervous system. Not just the brain, your whole body, how you experience the world, the senses that bring in so much data, and the brain that doesn't filter it all out because of the way that you are, the way that you're wired, the way that your genetic lineage evolved. Because once you feel seen, then you can start to feel safe. In that scene where all of these mutants all over the globe are being seen and felt at a subtle astral level by Professor Xavier, but not yet fully free to express and expose themselves, I feel like there was that, even just that little energetic reach out from Professor Xavier gave them at a deep, maybe even imperceptible level, the sense that like, oh, okay, I'm not alone. And I know you've been craving that. I'm not alone. Once that happens, and it starts happening at a deeper level, you start feeling seen and recognized by more and more people like you, people like me. You will start to feel more and more safe. Because there's a fear wired deep into the human mind, nervous system, psyche, into this part of the brain that our human prefrontal cortex evolved on top of, which is, if I'm alone, I die. And so therefore, it's better for me to mask, to fit in, to seem like I'm like everybody else, because if I'm alone, I might die. But it's time to break free from that, because the truth is, like that scene in X-Men, there are so many of us. Even if we said 5% of the population, if we said 5% of the population, there's 8 billion people. What is that? 10% of 8 billion is 800 million? So half of that is 5%. So 400 million people across the globe have potentially an ADHD nervous system. Maybe higher, I don't know. That's a lot of people. And no, the system isn't built for us, but the beauty is that we are so important at this time. I know it and you know it. You have a sense, you have a feeling, even though your mind might not totally understand it. You know that you're here for something big. But you've been hiding, you've been staying in the corner, you've been molding yourself to a mold that frankly is never going to fit. I stopped trying to be normal years ago. When I stopped drinking alcohol, which is a very normal thing to do, even though it's poison, government approved, taxed, legal poison. Really, when I stopped doing that, I stopped really being normal to the degree that I was used to doing for self-protection. And that's when I started talking about quantum physics and spiritual healing and the connection with God and consciousness and all that is. And the idea that we're going through the massive, the most incredible change in human consciousness that potentially has existed on this planet ever, if not certainly since written history. Assuming that there wasn't a written history before and that humans weren't probably more evolved in the past, but I digress. You see, I started becoming weirder and weirder because I felt like at least there were other people around me. Now, I didn't know back then that those people were neurodivergent. They were just weird. And I felt more and more safe to be my weird self. And the paradoxical thing is that this video might help you to feel more safe to be your weird self. And also, you still might have this feeling like, I don't know that I can. How do you actually truly be your own authentic weird self? It has to be in your nervous system. It has to be a sense of safety. To feel accepted, to feel seen, to feel not alone. So the invitation here is, number one, to recognize that you are not alone, by no means. The second part of this is that ADHD, or for my fellow brothers and sisters of neurodivergence that maybe is a different flavor, autism, Tourette syndrome, dyslexia, whatever it is, your label can be both freedom and a prison, but it's how you choose to use it. ADHD has helped to set me free, but also I am not disordered. No, I am a unique, beautiful, powerful individual who witnesses this world through a different nervous system, which, if you want to learn more about what it really is, go read the book ADHD, Hunter in a Farmer's World. Because there was a point when all humans probably had this nervous system. But then farming happened and we prioritized focused, linear, long-term tasks and projects. And that's when we shifted from the hunter-gatherer tribal nervous system. But use this term, this label, to go out and do the research. I hate it personally. I don't like it. But look, you probably found this video because you searched actively, or in the past you searched for something about ADHD, and the YouTube algorithm said, like, you might actually really need this, because that algorithm has been programmed to somehow sense that this would be good for you. Look, I'm going to be spending the next 30 days just showing up and speaking and talking, because I haven't been for some time. I've been hiding. Even as weird as I've allowed myself to be, I still do it in smaller spaces where there's not as much challenge and threat. But it's time to change that. And it's time for us to embrace who we are, to celebrate who we are, and recognize that we are here for this great awakening in consciousness. Because, please forgive me, my neurotypical brothers and sisters, but your nervous system isn't wired to truly create the visionary transformational changes that we need in this world. Some of the greatest inventors, entrepreneurs, business people have been very, very, very much on the spectrum, whatever spectrum. And it is with all the neurotypical brothers and sisters that we then see that they can build something that will truly affect, because our executive functioning is a little bit challenged. But your inability to just get up and do boring tasks is not something that's wrong with you. It's the environment that you've been in has been wrong for you. You've been trying to fit into a society that was not made for you. And that needs to stop now. So look, more to come. I will do my best to share my own journey and to share the things that I have learned in the process of honoring and learning how my nervous system works, and celebrating that I am different, that you are different, that we are different, and that we are so necessary right now. And so all I want you to do is recognize that you are not broken. You are not disordered. You are gifted in so many ways. And those gifts need, just like a plant needs the proper soil, your gifts need the proper environment in which to thrive. So let us find that together. My name is Christopher Armstrong, and I created the Mutant Academy to create a sanctuary for myself and others like us, because we are different and we need a different operating manual. We need a different player's guide in order to play this video game, because our system is just different. So let's stop worrying about it, and let's stop hiding, and let's start playing a better game. So I'll see you for the next transmission, whenever it finds you, or better yet, subscribe and get those notifications, because if you're here, it's for a reason. So until tomorrow, and remember that you're not alone. And you are a gift, a treasure that this world absolutely needs. So stop hiding.